Ethan Moore had never seen anything like the Orion sector. He had flown through many parts of space, but this area was strange. The stars were brighter, the nebulae shone in colors he had never imagined, and there were signals in the distance that did not belong to any human technology. He was alone in his small exploration ship, the Starling, checking sensors and recording data for the Space Exploration Command. The day had started like any other. He had checked the fuel, run diagnostics on the engines, and made sure the ship's communication system was working. Everything seemed normal. But then the signal appeared. At first, it was just a flicker on his radar, a small blip, moving erratically. Ethan frowned. "What is that?" he whispered to himself. His curiosity got the better of him. He adjusted the course to follow it. The closer he got, the stronger the energy readings became. His ship began to shake. Warning lights flashed on the control panel. "Engine stabilizers at 50%, he muttered. "That's not good." He tried to reverse, but the controls did not respond. A strange, invisible force pulled him forward. Ethan realized with a chill that he was trapped. The energy field around the signal was too strong. His thrusters roared, but he could not escape. The ship's shields flared and then went dark. Alarms screamed in his ears. He gritted his teeth and tried one last maneuver, but the Starling was pulled in. The next moment, everything went black. When Ethan opened his eyes, he was lying on soft, cool ground. His body ached, and his head felt heavy. He sat up slowly and looked around. He was on a planet, but it was unlike anything he had ever seen. The sky was violet, and 3 suns hung in the sky, casting strange shadows across the landscape. Crystal formations jutted out of the ground like giant glass towers. The air smelled sweet but metallic, and it was thick enough to make breathing slightly harder. Ethan struggled to his feet. His ship had crash-landed nearby. Sparks flew from the damaged hull. He could hear the soft hiss of venting energy. "This is bad," he said. "But I'm alive, at least." Then he saw her. She was taller than any human, at least 8 feet. Her skin shimmered in shades of silver and blue. Her eyes glowed like twin suns, and they seemed to look directly into Ethan's mind. Her hair moved as if it were alive, flowing and changing color with every movement. Her armor sparkled, strange symbols etched across it, glowing, faintly. She looked powerful, dangerous, and beautiful. Ethan froze. His instincts told him to run, but he could not move. She was too fast, too imposing. And yet, something about her did not feel hostile, at least not yet. "I am Empress Lyra," her voice rang in his mind, clear and commanding. "You have entered my world without permission. You must choose." "One." Ethan swallowed hard. "Choose what?" he asked, though he knew she could hear him without speaking. "Fight me, or love me," Lyra said. The words echoed through his thoughts, vibrating like a strange music he had never heard before. Ethan's mind raced. Fight her? There was no way he could fight her. Even with his weapons, even with his skills, he was a human. She was not human. He had no chance. And yet, the other choice, love me? The idea seemed impossible. He didn't even understand what it meant in this context. But instinct told him that she was not joking. Before he could answer, Lyra moved. She didn't walk. She glided, almost floating above the crystal ground. Her movements were so fast they were a blur. She stopped a few feet from him and raised her hand. The air shimmered around her, and Ethan could feel the power in her gesture. "You must choose quickly, human," she said. "Every moment you hesitate, danger grows. This world is not kind to the unprepared." Ethan nodded slowly. He had no weapons, no army, no backup. He had only his mind and his courage, and he had to survive. I choose the second, he said, his voice shaking but firm. Lyra paused. Her eyes widened slightly, and she tilted her head. No human had ever chosen that before. She had conquered worlds, defeated armies, and broken the wills of countless leaders. But a human, a small, fragile human, had made a choice she had never imagined. You choose, love, she whispered, more to herself than to him. Yes, Ethan said. I don't want to fight. I want to understand. I want to learn. I want to survive. Lyra studied him. Her expression was unreadable, a mixture of curiosity and disbelief. Then she did something unexpected. She smiled. Not a human smile, not exactly, but something that carried warmth and surprise. You are bold, she said. Perhaps that is why you live. This week, Junstery, our Junstery, we can see. Ethan felt a strange relief. But he did not lower his guard. Live? He asked. You're not going to kill me? Live. No, she said. Not yet. Perhaps. Not ever. But you must prove your choice is real. What do I have to do? Ethan asked. Lyra extended her hand, and a holographic image appeared in the air. It showed the planet, the strange terrain, and several creatures moving through the crystal forests. Survive here, she said. Learn this world. Understand its dangers. And perhaps, in time, you will understand me. Ethan looked at the creatures. They were tall, slender, with limbs that bent in directions that seemed impossible. Their eyes were black and shiny. They looked dangerous. One step wrong, and he could be dead. He swallowed hard and nodded. Okay, he said. I'll try. Lyra's eyes softened slightly. Do not disappoint me, human. I do not tolerate weakness lightly. For the next few hours, Ethan struggled to get his bearings. He learned to walk carefully over the sharp crystal surfaces. He avoided small fissures in the ground where strange light flickered. He found a stream of shimmering liquid, drank carefully, and felt its energy fill him. He had no food, but the liquid kept him alive. As night fell, the three suns disappeared below the horizon, and the sky became a tapestry of stars and glowing nebulae. Ethan sat on a crystal ledge and looked at the world around him. It was beautiful, terrifying, and full of unknown dangers. And somewhere in the distance, he could see Lyra watching him, her glowing eyes piercing the darkness. He realized something important. He had chosen the path of trust, of understanding, of love. But this choice was not safe. This choice could cost him his life. And yet, a strange part of him felt alive, more alive than he had ever felt before. For the first time in his life, Ethan Moore understood that survival was not just about strength. It was about courage, intelligence, and connection. And he had a long road ahead of him. He looked at the stars and whispered, almost to himself, I hope I can do this. For her, and for myself. For her, and for myself. For her, and for her. For her, 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 for her. Far above him, Empress Lyra observed silently. She had met countless beings in her long life. Soldiers, generals, politicians, spies, and warriors. None had made her feel curiosity, amusement, or hope. Her lips curved again, just slightly. Interesting human, she whispered. Perhaps I was wrong to expect only fear and defiance from your kind. The night was quiet, except for the soft hum of the crystals. Ethan lay down, exhausted, But his mind did not rest. He thought about what lay ahead, surviving this world, learning its secrets, understanding Lyra, and keeping himself alive. Somewhere deep inside, he felt a flicker of confidence. Maybe he could do this. Maybe he could survive. Maybe, just maybe, he could prove that humans were not weak. And somewhere else, Lyra thought the same thing. Maybe this human was different. Maybe he could teach her something she had never known. The future was uncertain. The danger, immense. But for the first time, both human and Empress felt a strange, unexpected connection. The journey had begun. Ethan Moore woke with a start. The violet sky was already bright with the light of 3 suns. He had slept fitfully on the crystal ledge, feeling both excitement and fear. The planet was alive, and he could sense its energy flowing through the ground, through the air. It was beautiful, but it was also dangerous. He stretched and looked around. The starling was a small dot in the distance, still smoking from the crash. The path back to it was not safe. Sharp crystal spikes jutted from the ground, and strange creatures roamed the open plains. Some moved quickly, darting between the light reflections on the crystals. Others were slow, massive, with long arms ending in sharp claws. Ethan shook his head. "I have to find out how to survive here, if I want to understand her world," he muttered. He decided to start by exploring cautiously. He kept the starling in sight, moving carefully over the crystal terrain. Every step required attention. A misstep could cut his foot or make him fall. He noticed that the crystals hummed slightly when he touched them. The hum was not dangerous, but it made him nervous. As he walked, he thought about Empress Lyra. She had chosen to give him a chance, a path of trust instead of fighting. That was incredible. He had faced danger in space before, but nothing like this. Here, he was completely out of his element. But somehow, he felt alive. He wanted to prove that humans could survive, even here. Suddenly, movement caught his eye. A small group of alien creatures appeared ahead, moving in a strange, silent way. They were about his height but thin and angular, with black eyes that reflected the sunlight. Their hands ended in sharp points, and their mouths were hidden beneath layers of strange skin. Ethan froze. He could run, but he had learned that running could make him look weak or attract attention. Instead, he remembered a trick he had used in survival training. Slow movements, keep low, and observe. He crouched behind a crystal tower and watched the creatures. They sniffed the air, scanning the area. Ethan noticed that they were not attacking. They seemed curious. That was a good sign, but he knew it could change in a moment. He took a deep breath. "Okay, Ethan," he whispered. "You can do this. Just move, carefully." He began to move along the crystal formations, hopping from one safe ledge to another. The creatures followed him at a distance, watching his movements. His heart pounded, but he focused. Every step required balance, attention, and patience. Hours passed. The creatures finally left the area, disappearing into the crystal forest. Ethan felt relief wash over him. He had survived the first encounter. That small victory gave him confidence. He knew this was only the beginning. While exploring, Ethan discovered a small stream. The water was not ordinary. It glowed faintly, and when he touched it, it felt warm and energizing. He drank slowly, careful not to drink too much at once. The liquid seemed to fill him with strength, and he realized it would be vital for his survival. He began to understand the basics of the planet. The crystals were sharp and dangerous, but they also created natural shelters. The glowing liquid was nutritious, and some plants nearby could be eaten. The creatures were mostly cautious, avoiding humans unless provoked. Ethan felt a small spark of hope. He could survive here. He just had to stay smart and careful. As the suns began to set, he noticed movement in the distance much larger than the creatures he had seen before. A massive shadow passed over the crystals, and Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He had never seen anything so large. The ground shook slightly as it moved. Then he saw it. A massive beast, taller than any building he had seen on Earth. Its legs were thick and strong, its body covered in tough, armor-like scales. Its head had glowing eyes that scanned the horizon. Ethan realized that if it noticed him, he would not stand a chance. He ducked behind a crystal, holding his breath. He watched as the beast moved slowly, sniffing the air. It did not notice him, but it was close. He needed a plan. Ethan remembered what Lyra had said: survive and learn. He could not fight this creature. He had to avoid it. Using the crystals as cover, he began to move carefully, inch by inch, away from the creature's path. Every sound he made echoed across the crystal plains. His heart raced. Suddenly, he slipped. A crystal shard broke under his weight, making a loud snapping sound. The beast stopped immediately. Its glowing eyes turned toward him. Ethan froze, too scared to breathe. The creature let out a low, rumbling sound, like a growl mixed with a vibration. He had only one chance. He remembered a trick from his pilot training: distraction. He picked up a loose crystal shard and threw it in the opposite direction. The shard clattered against the crystals, bouncing and shining in the light. The beast's attention shifted. It moved toward the noise. Ethan exhaled quietly. He continued to move slowly, staying low, until he was far enough to be safe. He had survived his first real danger. By nightfall, he found a small cave in the crystal formations. It was not large, but it was safe from the creatures and the massive beast. He crawled inside and sat down, exhausted. His body ached, and his mind raced with everything he had seen. He thought about Empress Lyra again. She had watched him, observing how he moved, how he reacted to danger. He realized she had trusted him to survive, even though she was far stronger than him. That trust was something he could not waste. He sat quietly, listening to the hum of the crystals and the distant sounds of alien creatures. He understood that this planet was not just a place of beauty. It was a test. Every step, every decision, could be a matter of life or death. The next morning, Ethan woke with a plan. He would explore more, gather food and water, and try to understand the planet's patterns. He also wanted to find a way to communicate with Lyra more directly. He wanted to learn about her world, her people, and why she had offered him this strange choice. As he prepared to leave the cave, he saw movement on a nearby crystal ridge. Lyra appeared, her silver-blue skin glowing in the morning light. She watched him silently, her eyes unreadable. "You survived your first trial," she said, her voice calm but powerful. "Many humans would have failed." Ethan bowed slightly. "Thank you, Empress. I'm trying." "You are bold," she said. "Bold and curious. That is rare among your kind. Most would run, hide, or fight blindly. You think." Ethan felt a small pride. "I have to survive," he said, "and I want to understand." Lyra studied him for a long moment. Then she moved closer. "There will be more trials," she said. "More dangers. Not all will be visible. Not all will be physical. Your mind and heart will be tested as much as your body. Are you ready?" Ethan nodded. "I have to be. If I am going to stay alive, I have to be ready." Lyra's eyes softened slightly. "Good. Then you may continue." She turned and glided away, disappearing into the crystal formations. Ethan began to move again, careful, alert, and aware. He was learning, not just about the planet, but about himself. He realized that humans were not the strongest physically, but they were clever, adaptable, and persistent. That might be why Lyra had offered him this strange choice. As he explored, he discovered more creatures, more glowing streams, and strange plants with soft, edible leaves. He tested everything carefully, recording his observations in a small data pad. He learned which creatures were dangerous, which could be avoided, and which were simply curious. Days passed. Ethan grew stronger and more confident. His movements became quicker and more precise. He learned to read the signals of the creatures, noticing small changes in their behavior. He began to anticipate danger before it appeared. One evening, as he rested on a crystal plateau, he heard a sound different from anything else on the planet. A soft, melodic hum. It was not from the creatures or the wind. It was from Lyra. She appeared before him, her presence calm but commanding. "You are learning quickly," she said. "You adapt. You survive. That is impressive." Ethan smiled faintly. "I have to. I want to understand. You, and this world." Lyra tilted her head, considering him. "Perhaps you are not like other humans. Perhaps you are worth my trust." For the first time, Ethan felt that their strange connection was real. He was not just a human surviving a dangerous planet, he was part of something bigger. Something that could change both his life and hers. As the twin suns set behind the crystal towers, Ethan realized that survival was only the beginning. The real challenge was understanding the alien world and the alien empress who had chosen him. The journey had become more than survival. It had become a test of courage, trust, and the strange power of human determination. Ethan Moore had survived his first trials on the alien planet, but he knew the real challenges were only beginning. The crystal plains and forests were full of dangers he could not always see. Each day, he grew stronger, faster, and more aware, but he could not afford to be overconfident. That morning, the three suns rose, painting the sky with golden and violet streaks. Ethan stretched, feeling the stiffness in his muscles from yesterday's exploration. He had found a small cave near a glowing stream, and the water had kept him strong. Today, he planned to explore farther and perhaps discover something more about the planet's secrets. He was gathering edible plants when he heard a familiar humming sound behind him. Lyra appeared, moving like light itself, her silver-blue skin reflecting the sun's rays. She did not speak immediately. She watched him quietly, her glowing eyes studying every movement. "You are improving," she said finally. "You move with caution, but you do not hesitate when action is required. That is good." "Thank you," Ethan said, feeling a small pride. Lyra's lips curved faintly. "You are persistent. Few humans have such patience or courage." They spent the morning together. Though in a cautious way, Lyra did not hold his hand or touch him. Instead, she observed, offering guidance when he needed it. She showed him how to identify safe crystals, which plants could be eaten, and how to read the signals of the creatures that roamed the crystal forests. By noon, Ethan felt stronger and more confident. He had learned that some creatures were territorial, but could be avoided with careful movement. Others were curious, following him from a distance but not attacking. Lyra watched him navigate the dangers, nodding silently. Then came the sound that made both of them tense, a deep, rolling rumble, vibrating through the crystal ground. Ethan froze. The massive beast he had seen days earlier was approaching. Its steps shook the ground, each one sending vibrations through his legs. Lyra's eyes narrowed. "It is coming faster than normal," she said. "Something has disturbed it. We must move." Ethan's heart pounded. "Where?" "Follow me," Lyra said. She led him through a narrow passage between crystal formations, moving with a grace that made him feel clumsy and slow in comparison. The ground trembled under the beast's approach. Rocks and crystals cracked, and the air filled with the sound of tearing. Ethan ran as best as he could, keeping low to avoid being seen. He had learned to trust Lyra's instincts. She did not speak much, but her movements communicated everything he needed to know. They reached a small canyon with walls of smooth crystal. Lyra stopped and signaled him to be quiet. Ethan crouched beside her. From their hiding spot, they could see the beast. It was enormous, larger than anything on Earth, with scales that reflected the sunlight. Its glowing eyes scanned the terrain, searching. "It will notice us if we make the wrong move," Lyra said. "We must be patient." Ethan nodded. He remembered the first day he had survived by observing, by waiting. This was the same. Patience. Observation. Careful movement. The beast moved slowly past them, sniffing the air. Ethan's heart raced. One wrong sound, one careless step, and it could attack. Lyra raised her hand slightly, and the air shimmered. A faint, invisible shield surrounded them. Ethan felt a strange warmth as the shield pulsed gently. "Stay close," Lyra whispered. "Do not move separately. We must be together." Ethan obeyed. He felt a strange bond forming between them. She had saved him without touching him. She trusted him to follow her guidance, to think for himself, and to survive. For a human used to depending on technology, this was a new kind of trust. The beast moved on, leaving them in silence. "You handled yourself well," she said. "Many would have panicked or run blindly. You thought, and you survived." Ethan looked at her. "I had your guidance. I'm learning from you." Lyra's eyes softened. "And that is why I allowed you to choose the path you did. Humans are fragile, but some are clever, and their hearts are strong. You are one of those. Lyra's. 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 Lyra's." For the first time, Ethan felt a connection deeper than mere survival. Lyra was not just an alien ruler. She was someone who saw him as more than a human being, more than a fragile creature. She saw his mind, his courage, and something in his heart. They continued exploring together, moving cautiously through the crystal forests. Lyra taught him how to sense danger before it appeared, to notice patterns in the creature's behavior, and to understand the subtle signs of the planet itself. By evening, they reached a small plateau, overlooking a valley of glowing crystals. The sun's light bounced off the formations, creating a dazzling display of color. Ethan sat down, exhausted, but exhilarated. "This is incredible," he said. "I've never seen anything like it." Lyra stood silently beside him, her eyes reflecting the shimmering crystals. "This world is beautiful, but it is not easy. You survive here, and you grow stronger. That is the test. Not all tests are physical. Some are of the mind, and some are of the heart. Sensive. We can have of the mind. Trying today. Sensive by. Sensive and day. Sensive and day." Ethan turned to look at her. "Of the heart?" "Yes," Lyra said softly. "You chose a path I did not expect. That choice, it shows courage and understanding. You could have fought me, but you chose trust. That is rare, even among humans." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. "I didn't know what else to do. Fighting you. It would have been pointless. And I wanted to understand you, not destroy you." Lyra studied him for a long moment. Then she smiled faintly. "You are different," she said. "Perhaps this world, and this empire, need your kind of courage." That night, they camped on the plateau. Ethan prepared a small fire using materials from the planet, carefully following the methods Lyra had shown him. The flames cast dancing shadows across the crystals, creating a soft glow. Lyra watched him work. "You are learning quickly," she said. "Soon, you will need to act without my guidance. You must be ready for that." "I will try," Ethan said. "I want to be ready." They ate small portions of alien plants and drank the glowing liquid from nearby streams. Ethan noticed that he no longer felt as weak as he had on the first day. His muscles were stronger, his reflexes quicker, and his mind sharper. Lyra spoke quietly. "The trials are not over. Many challenges will come, and not all are visible. You must trust yourself, and sometimes, trust me." Ethan nodded. "I do. I trust you." The night was quiet except for the gentle hum of the crystals. Ethan lay down, looking up at the stars. He thought about how far he had come. In just a few days, he had faced dangerous creatures, survived without weapons, and learned to navigate a world that seemed impossible. More importantly, he thought about Lyra. She was unlike anyone he had ever met. Powerful, intelligent, and commanding, but also curious, thoughtful, and capable of trust. He realized that his feelings for her were changing. They were no longer just about survival or respect. They were something deeper. The next morning, Ethan woke before the suns fully rose. He watched the glowing landscape, remembering everything Lyra had taught him. He felt ready for whatever might come next. Lyra appeared beside him, her presence calm and steady. "Today, you will face a different trial," she said. "One that tests both your mind and your courage. Are you prepared?" Ethan squared his shoulders. "I'm ready." She nodded. "Then follow me." Together, they moved through the crystal forest, their movements quiet and careful. Ethan felt a strange excitement. He was no longer just a human trying to survive. He was part of something bigger, part of a story that would test him, teach him, and perhaps change the course of his life forever. As they reached the edge of the forest, the ground began to tremble. Ethan glanced at Lyra. She did not speak, but her eyes were sharp, focused. Something dangerous awaited them, and he knew this trial would be unlike anything he had faced before. Ethan took a deep breath. He was ready to face it, with Lyra by his side. He was learning what it meant to be human on a world that seemed impossible. And he was beginning to understand that courage, intelligence, and trust were more powerful than any weapon. The real test had begun.